Hello, everyone. Today you will find a selection of the 10 best smartphones for purchase in early 2024. However, I must say right away that I did not try to rank smartphones according to any criteria because each of them is unique and interesting in its own way, and therefore, please treat it only as a numbering. Enjoy watching. Let's move on to the selection. Let's start today with the Apple iPhone 12 Pro Max. This is, in principle, a separate type of smartphone, which not only has its own unique system, but also dictates the rest of the market. Although this is not the only reason I took it into the selection, first of all because it is a universal device, the single ecosystem of which will be sufficient for both ordinary users and professionals. Secondly, there is a simply magnificent camera with artificial intelligence that allows even amateurs to take pictures or video at the professional level, of course. With poor lighting, any phone takes pictures worse than a regular camera, but here, even sunsets are unforgettable. Add to this LiDAR for three-dimensional scanning, the smartphone's power is enough for any games, as well as a classic design from the time of Jobs, and we get one of the best, albeit expensive, smartphones on the market. Well, since we started this assembly with an iPhone, let's continue it with the same iPhone, only from the Android world. Pixel 7 Pro, only if Apple returned to square roots, Google decided to go into total rounding, but at the same time maintaining the traditions of another American company and does not include a power supply in the kit. This is a small problem since the device is powered only from blocks with support power delivery. Otherwise, charging simply does not start, which is already a problem considering the very power-hungry new Google Tensor G2 processor, which has enough autonomy for one working day. Overall, it has little performance compared to the previous generation. But in return, Google offers an excellent camera with artificial intelligence, superior in processing even to Apple, clean and perfectly working Android, and a very unusual design. But still, adherents of more classic Androids are probably waiting for Samsung. However, for now, let's look at the Galaxy Z Fold 4, one of the few folding smartphones. Very expensive, but still attracting the glances of passers-by, the attention of friends, and providing a unique experience. I'm glad that such devices haven't stopped coming out. After the first prototypes, which gradually got rid of children's ailments since here the hinge was made better, the screen is more reliable and juicy. It's a mold, after all. The battery finally doesn't melt before our eyes, and the screen became at least normal, and with it, the cameras were brought up to the level of flagships, and the operating system with the One UI shell was modified to suit this format. In general, among the flexible ones, this is probably the best smartphone, especially for technology geeks, or if you just want to stand out from the rest. 7th place, Asus Zenfone 9. Everyone knows this company as a good manufacturer of gaming laptops and various computer hardware. But somehow, in the world of smartphones, they are not particularly popular, except perhaps for the same mobile gamers. Although this particular model, however, it is positioned not only as a gaming device, but also in general as a flagship for most consumers, on a level with other manufacturers, which have at least 2 large camera modules, with good quality and excellent stabilization at the level of the reference pixel. The kit even included a power supply with a cover, which is a rarity now. And the autonomy during normal work without games reaches the level of competitors, and the screen with rounded corners personally, I like it even more than the usual one, and considering its small dimensions by modern standards, it is ideal suitable for those who do not need huge smartphones. 6th place, OnePlus 11. Despite the very contradictory reviews for last year's model, the developers apparently read all the criticism and, having listened, corrected almost all the shortcomings in the continuation. First of all, the reduction in cost in comparison with competitors, by removal of wireless charging, and are waterproof according to the IP68 type, which most people don't need anyway. Secondly, they abandoned the division into Pro and regular models, releasing just a good smartphone in terms of price and quality ratio. Externally, it doesn't stand out in any way except for a huge circle with cameras, for some reason not in the center but on the side, causing my inner perfectionist to have a nervous tick. But it is excellent at shooting both video and photos with good or insufficient lighting. Otherwise, the screen is juicy, large with a cutout for the camera on the left in the corner, productive enough to work normally, albeit with slight lags and loads. But in its price category, it is still a top device. Fifth place, Red Magic 8 Pro. I'm sure you didn't expect a purely Chinese product in this selection, at least from this manufacturer. After all, when we talk about premium smartphones from heaven, at least for such and such a price, everyone often remembers Xiaomi, Huawei, but not Red Magic, which nevertheless have the gaming division managed to surprise with a 7-inch frameless screen, under which they hid an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, a small 8-megapixel camera, which of course takes so-so pictures, but for games it's not needed, because this is primarily a gaming device, with touch sensors at the ends triggers. The game launcher is like in a portable console and, most importantly, a full-fledged cooling cooler. According to tests, it cannot be said that it is very effective, but if you play for a long time, it allows you to avoid such a strong lag, and in general, the square design with metal frames looks interesting and imitates iPhones. So, as a gaming smartphone, it's worth taking a closer look. Fourth place, Motorola Moto Edge Plus. It's rare to hear about this company now. After all, they, like LG, decided to bet on unusual smartphones, and if the latter still played in the box, at least with the mobile division, then Motorola manages to balance while releasing ordinary one smartphones, but against the backdrop of numerous experiments, this is a good smartphone with flagship hardware of 2020, which now costs quite reasonable money. And even if it's not a new product, it's enough for everyday tasks. It has a colorful OLED screen, a design like everyone else, triple a camera with a wide angle, and good sound, which is complemented by the presence of a mini jack, which for some reason has disappeared from all other smartphones, and pure Android that works normally out of the box. The only drawback that can be repulsive is that there is only one slot for a SIM card, but otherwise it's a completely decent option. Third place, Honor Magic 5 Pro. It was immediately dubbed the best contender for the title of Camera Phone of the Year. The cameras here are really worthy, starting with the fact that there is a double front camera, providing 3D face scanning and, accordingly, better data protection. But at the same time, we get this a thorn, as it was clearly described in one review, which is very difficult not to notice. The rear camera block protrudes, even more than on the new iPhones. However, this does not mean that everything else in it is done poorly. On the contrary, this is exactly the example of flagships where everything is at its best, high-quality OLED LTPO display, Snapdragon 8th generation. Well, maybe not the best ergonomics, but overall there are advantages, there are clearly more downsides. Well, since we've touched on the best flagships, we can't help but mention the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. I'm sure many would put it in first place, but I remind you of the places in this selection only for numbering, since each smartphone is good in its own way. This option is exactly in its price niche, and in its size, this can be said to be a replacement for the retired generation of Galaxy Note, with a huge screen and a stylus hidden in the body. The previous model of which was almost ideal, and therefore the continuation is not very different and has undergone a noticeable update only hardware. Now there is no alternative Snapdragon 8, Gen 2, which is one of the most productive. Everything else is at the same level. The screen and the cameras are at the level of the previous 22nd model. So if there is an option to take it cheaper, why pay more? If in normal use there is practically no difference, well, first place, Nothing Phone 2. We will finish the same way we started with a smartphone extremely similar to the iPhone in its design, but which has brought many significant changes. The main thing is, of course, the luminous transparent back cover, which debuted last year and became one of main differences from other smartphones. And now it's time for updates because the sequel takes the previous model as a basis and only improved it a little. when the backlight functions receive more customization settings. Otherwise, the usual a smartphone with pure Android, with an average level of hardware, a 120 Hz screen with clear color reproduction and sufficient brightness even in sunny weather, a good camera, and a front-facing one on top of the screen. In general, the startup of the founder of OnePlus can be considered quite successful. Its main feature is a unique design that stands out from dozens of other bricks of the same type, and everything else is basically on par. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching to the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and see you in new videos. Bye, everyone.